Hi everyone. So this is lecture 8 on data input and output and plotting. And this is going to be a short little exposition, and then I'm going to go through and I have two more videos, one on data I/O and plotting in Excel and one on data I/O and plotting in Python. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about data files, and then I'm going to close the video and you can go ahead and look at these examples in Excel and Python. So here we go. Number one is data files. Okay, so very often one is required to deal with data from a variety of sources and in a variety of formats. So far we've been doing Python and Excel in cases where we just inputted the data by hand. But a lot of times that's not the case. You're getting data from some sort of instrument, or you've written a code and it generates a bunch of data and you need to do something with it. You need to plot it, you need to manipulate it. There's a lot of different formats, and we're going to focus on a type of format which, so maybe I'll just write this down. So data comes from lots of places. Okay. But today what we're going to deal with, and comes in lots of formats. That's the other thing I wanted to say. Comes in lots of formats. Today we're going to focus only on text files. Okay. And text files are data stored as strings. Okay. So this is data stored as characters or strings. Remember that we can have variables that are floats or that are integers or other things, but we could just write data simply as a character, and then you can have a file editor that can open that and you can look at that character. And so these are very flexible. They're not very efficient. They're kind of expensive for to store a lot of data. So if you want to store millions of data points, you wouldn't use this. But probably most of the things you're ever going to do aren't going to do that. And text files are a really convenient way to have something generic. So one of the advantages is you can use a text editor. Okay. To look at or edit these files. Okay, so a text editor is a program. So on here on this Linux machine, I can show you a text editor. So I have gedit, which is a text editor. All right, and text editor is simply some program where you can type stuff in. So my name is Doug, or other things like this. All right, and you can take close without saving. Let me see if there's a window open here. I can look at data. So I have a data file that I've provided that goes along with this lecture. And so if you download the zip directory, you can extract it and open it up. And you can see I've got these different file formats in here. And so you can take something like ratedata.dat, and I can open it with my text editor. All right. And this just shows it's just a bunch of numbers, all right, of what my rate data is. So in Windows, I have a Windows box open down here. Windows has a Notepad. Okay, that's a text editor that comes with the program, all right? So you can just do, whatever, okay, type in Notepad. You've probably played around with Notepad before, all right? And we cannot save that. And you should be able to, if again you go, let's see, let me navigate to where that was. This is in lectures, lecture 8. Let's see, it was data files, and I have ratedata.dat. I can open that with, I click open with, show me all the things I have, Notepad. Okay, click OK. And shouldn't take this long. I don't know what it's taking so long to do. But there it goes. Okay, it opens it up in Notepad. All right, and so you should have something similar on Mac. I don't have a Mac box, available to me right here to show, but that should be the case. Okay. So now text files are often stored with different extensions, okay, based on their formats. So you saw, the extension is often something like my data.txt, okay, that would tell you it's a text file. My data.dat, okay, that's usually a data format and often as a text file. And sometimes you'll see my data.csv, okay, and CSV, so this really, right, this means text, this one means data, okay, and this one stands for comma separated value, okay, and again it's usually a text file, but the values are separated by commas. So a typical text file will have a format that kind of looks like this, okay, so this is typical, but it's by no means prescriptive, but for this class we'll likely have this. So it kind of looks like a table. So you have a name, maybe score. This is just some example I'm coming up with. Grade, right? And you might have, let's see, Doug and Tim and Audrey and let's see, Annie. Okay, just a bunch of names. All right, and suppose the scores look like this: 70, 80, 75. Okay, and the grades look like this: D, C, B, B minus. Suppose that's what I have in a text file, right? Usually this line here, this is called a header. Okay, this would be the category name, and usually it's not the data. It's not the data you're interested in. These down here are the values. Okay, and then there's some way to separate these values. Okay, and that's called the delimiter. Okay, so in this case maybe it's a tab. All right, but you could have commas. Okay, and so when the delimiter is commas, that's when you have a CSV file. Okay, when it's spaces, okay, or tabs, that's usually a txt or a .dat file. Okay, but commas is always a CSV, pretty much always is how that goes. All right, so that's pretty much the format of text files. So now you'll notice if your machine is like my Windows machine here, okay, maybe it doesn't show the file extension, but Windows especially, and most modern operating systems, use the file extension to identify which is the normal program that I use to open this type of file, so that when you double click on something, it will open. All right, so I want to show you two things about that. So first is you want to be able to change what opens it. You right click on the file and you go to properties, all right, and you can do opens with Notepad, and you can change that to be something else. Okay, so you could make that Microsoft Word or WordPad or whatever it is you want. I recommend Notepad for these kind of files, all right, because then if you double click it, you'll be able to edit that data right away, right? The other thing I'd say is you want to be able to see what the file extension is. So, all right, I forgot to look this up before I was here, but you should be able to do this. You should be able to come over here, go to View. I think it's in Options, if I remember right. And let's see, View. Yep, I think this is where it is. So, okay, so I come over to Options. I click from General, I click on the View tab, and I come down here, and it says Hide Extensions for Known File Types. So unclick that and click Apply or OK. Okay, and now it shows the .dat, .csv at the end. Okay, so to review where that was in View, Options, okay, and it was in View, and I unclicked this box, Hide Extensions for Known File Types. Okay, now that will show you what your file extension is. Oftentimes you'll find in Windows, if you have something, if you edit this file. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Don't open it. Rename it rather. Okay, and I add a different extension. Suppose I add .csv here. Yeah, it's going to freak out at me. Now it changes the icon and says, oh, I'm going to open that with Excel. Okay, and so sometimes if you have a problem, if you download something and you have your file extensions turned off, so you can't see them, it'll confuse you when it tries to open something. Okay, and Windows gets really confused if I take off the file extensions. Okay, so if I do this and I delete it, okay, it freaks out and says, I don't even know what to do with that file. When I double click it, it says, I don't know what to do with it. But if I click Notepad, click OK, it's still there. All right, it's all there. So the file extension is really just a way to communicate to the operating system what you want the program to open it with. All right, and a way to communicate to the other user about that. All right, so that's all I have for you in terms of concepts about data I/O and plotting. But there's a lot of examples to go through about how to import and export data in both Excel and Python, and I will leave that to other videos. So I think with that, I'll sign off. Have a good one.